Hello, my name is Zara Hoffman. I'm the founder of Inimitable Books, which is dedicated to uplifting marginalized voices while pigeonholing authors into writing about their trauma. We are here today to do an author interview with Holly Davis, who is the author of A Diamond Bright and Broken, and Inimitable Books author Samantha Tronfeld will be interviewing her. So I'm going to put Sam on and I'll be backstage.
Hello everyone, happy time zone. I'm Samantha Tronfeld, Inimitable author of The Legionnaire, which is now releasing November 14th, and I am so excited to be here with you today to talk about Holly's cover reveal and talk everything about A Diamond Bright and Broken. Holly Davis is a kid-lit author who started her writing journey as a child, often drawing the book cover and only writing a couple of chapters, which is the most relatable thing in her bio. In high school, she wrote fan fiction for the video game Kingdom Hearts before eventually wanting to write stories of worlds and characters all her own. Now Holly gives writing advice and interacts with the online community via her YouTube channel. She's also a Page Turner Young Writers Award judge and the host of the Diversity is Lit book club, which promotes BIPOC authors. You can find her in the Chicago suburbs, helping people in the hospital as a physical therapist, enjoying the company of her two fur babies who have fur, and binging Netflix shows. A Diamond Bright and Broken is her debut novel. Everybody, welcome Holly to the chat.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just so honored to, be interviewed. And I'm so floored by all of the love with the pre-orders and sharing of A Diamond Bright and Broken. The bio, I'm trying to think of different things, but I am a twin. My twin is in Arizona and she also writes. We've wanted to co-write a book someday, so hopefully that will be in the works. And she's here. Heather, hi.
I didn't realize you were a twin. You know I'm a twin too, right?
You're a twin?
Yeah.
Does your twin write?
No, she has some story ideas that she's thought about, but she hasn't gotten quite to the writing stage yet.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Heather's taking a little hiatus, but hopefully she can get back in and we can write together.
Awesome. Okay, so was there anything you wanted to add to your intro?
No, I guess that's it. It's pretty.
She would like to be part of this.
I'm a Libra. I'm an INFJ. And Enneagram 2 Wing 1. If that tells you a little bit more about me.
Okay, let's pull up the beautiful cover for Diamond Bright and Broken. I mean,
Yay.
Just stunning. I love the colors. I love the shattered. I just love everything about this cover. What was the inspiration for it? What was the thought process?
Yeah, so it's funny because Zara had kind of made a mock cover, when it was cover to be revealed, and I made a little mock cover, and it both, we both had a diamond on the cover. So, I knew that I could go in either two directions where I have, the main characters on the cover, or I can have an emblem or logo or something. And, for the genre, emblems and things are really big. So I was like, okay, I think a diamond is where I want to go. And I thought it would be really cool to be shattered. And there were a whole lot of other elements that I was thinking that I wanted on the cover. Like the border, and maybe towers or something, so that you can kind of see that in there. And really it was just kind of tweaking the colors, making the shattered diamond and the shattered pieces look good, because we went through a whole couple renditions. But I'm just really happy how it turned out. It's just I think it's beautiful. And oh, if you hear my cats, that's
my cat is also purring. So we're just gonna have a cat chat today instead.
Sounds good.
So you kind of touched on it, but when you were going into this process, is this the direction you were hoping on going, or when you were drafting, did you think the book would end up with a different cover?
Yeah, it started with kind of a pink and blue more like neon colors. And it had a lot of different like elements to it. So it felt like a bit crowded. So we really worked to kind of like condense what both Zara and I wanted on the cover. And I was really grateful to be able to have so much input into it with what what I liked. So then once we were like, okay, we want the diamond bigger, a little more centered. And then the color still kind of felt off. And I was like, I think it needs to be more of the blue, because I felt like that would really make everything pop. It kind of matched with like the diamond vibe. And the border being like more flat instead of like a 3D border. So I feel like it went in the exact direction it needed to go. Like this is literally like the 9th version. There were a couple tweaks like near the end, but we really did a lot of tweaking with things to make sure that it was perfect. So it's definitely beyond my expectations for sure.
What is your favorite part of the cover?
I love the diamond that's shattered, but then it's like this little thing that like just like the shine on the G, because I didn't ask for that. So that was like, whoa, ooh, that looks good. So it's really funny, this like little thing that kind of just like makes it a little more polished. But I definitely think the shattered diamond is like the focal point.
I think it does. The G really pulls the font into it, makes it fit in your cover. It like looks great. I love how the and is in the O. Like that's
yes, yeah, that was that was from the very beginning, and I'm like, I love that. I love it.
So when you were talking about the border, was there anything like specific that you were thinking about, or it's just that you wanted kind of this like florally embellished border?
Yeah, I kind of wanted it to be a little swirly to kind of like encapsulate like the magic that's in A Diamond Bright and Broken. And so to like make it have that fantasy feel. So yeah, but then I didn't want it to kind of overpower and overtake the cover and make it feel too crowded. So I feel like the purple made it fit in a little bit more.
Yeah, I like the whole like staying in the color family thing. It really keeps everything nice. Like it accents, but it doesn't take away from. I think you guys did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Yeah, Keelan, thank you.
So for those of you in the audience, I'm gonna read the blurb really quick so you know what this story is about. 16-year-old Cadence was born with the ability to cry tears of diamonds, a secret talent her parents have abused to climb the royal ranks thanks to the infinite source of wealth. At their command, she cries diamonds to pay for their pricey treatments for her sister's neuromuscular disorder. Regardless of the pain, she'll do anything for her sister, who weakens by the day. When the prince heckles Cadence at the King's summer solstice ball about her sister's disability while dancing in the ballroom, she's left on the verge of tears, threatening to expose her power. She is saved by a mysteriously charming girl who sweeps in to take the next dance, and the single diamond Cadence cried. The stranger reveals the Magi Queen sent her to tell Cadence that she is a mage and that her power is a curse. Yearning to discover the secrets behind her powers, Cadence sets off for the city of Magi. To claim the life she wants, Cadence must embrace her power before she loses the bright spots in her otherwise sad existence. After all, even diamonds can shatter.
Yay!
We love a sister story, obviously. Now that we're both twins, like even more. Before we talk about the story specifically, I'm going to do a few speed round questions.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of talk about your writing in general. Are you a plotter or a pantser or somewhere in between?
Definitely a plotter. I've grown to be to plot like even more. Before, like my outlines were I started with like the 26 beat sheet, and now I'm like doing scene cards and stuff. So definitely a plotter. Save the Cat is my like homegirl.
Very, very detailed outlines, and do you stick to them?
I usually do. Yeah, because developmental edits are hard for me, so I try to make the cleanest first draft I can. so that I don't have to change too much developmentally.
Yeah, that I try to get my scenes right. The same thing, like doing scene cards, so that I don't have to move things around later.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite writing snack?
Yeah, it's usually like a pre-writing snack because I always make sure that I'm not hungry before I write so that like I can just get in the zone. But if I do, it's usually like gummy snacks or chocolate, just something I can like eat really quick as like a treat.
Little nibbles.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite writing drink?
Usually water, but depending on the day, it can be like pop or coffee, but but usually I have my water. Boring, I know.
I mean, you gotta stay hydrated, so good. What is your favorite place or time of day to write?
I have been writing at home, but it has been distractible. So if I can write at like a Panera Bread or like Starbucks or something, that would be ideal so that I am not distracted. And then I used to be an early bird, but now I write kind of like afternoon night owl, afternoon narwhal.
And do you have a favorite trope?
Yes, enemies to lovers. It just never gets old. I'm here for it.
Okay, so let's jump into some questions about A Diamond Bright and Broken. Love the title, by the way.
Oh,
I
thank
think it's stunning.
Thanks.
Can you talk about your main characters? So we know a little bit about Cadence from the blurb, but for people who haven't heard of anything yet, let's talk about some of your characters.
Yeah, so Cadence she's like a little bit based off of me, because this doesn't like play a big role in the story, but she is biracial. And I'm biracial, so she's half white, half black, but she like looks white, and that's like me. And I've never like read a book where that is a character. Oh, there's your cat, so cute.
It's just the other one. There's one in my lap already.
So I thought it would be really cool to actually write a main character that like reflected me in that way. And with Cadence and her strong like sibling relationship with her sister Allegra, like a lot of my stories for some reason didn't have like that sister relationship. So Cadence just like loves her sister to pieces, and their bond is really strong, and that's kind of what drives everything that she does in A Diamond Bright and Broken, because she's wanting to build a better life for her and her sister.
Mm-hmm. If you had to pick one sentence to describe both of them, so one sentence for Cadence and one sentence for Allegra, what would you do? Like, obviously, that's a hard choice. I don't.
Oh yeah, I didn't plan out.
So I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I didn't plan out this question. Cadence is like a quiet fire that's slowly building, and you should watch out for. And Allegra is the bright light that everyone needs in their life.
I love that, because you're going to be drawn to Allegra, but you need to watch out, because if you leave Cadence, she will burn your house down.
Yes, exactly.
What was your favorite part about creating them?
Yeah, I think it was like that sibling relationship. Like I said, like I've never written that. So it was fun to write those bright scenes with them, like having fun with each other, because like Cadence and Allegra are going through so much, having to stay at home because of their parents, and so they're showing that like they're able to survive because they have each other. And then with Raven, the female love interest, she was fun to write because like I always like writing, kind of more like characters that aren't like me, like the villains or snarky characters or like humorous characters, because I'm not like, when I'm funny, I'm like, oh my gosh, I made a joke, people laughed. So it was fun to write Raven as well, because she was kind of like the opposite of Cadence, but they do have a lot of similarities.
It's fun, in my opinion, always to like play with characters where you can see how they could have been the same, but then their lives put them on separate paths, and like playing them against each other, especially when they're love interests. It's so much fun for me.
Yes, yes, and how their backstory like shapes like where the direction that they took and how that reflects in them coming together and how they interact.
Especially if like they have to face the same decision and one of them's like, obviously we should do this. The other
Yes.
one's like, why would we do that? We should clearly do this other thing. And it's like, oh wow. I see why both of you are saying that.
Yep.
One of you is probably wrong.
Yes, that's exactly it.
So we talked about this a little bit with your mention about their biraciality. Did you put any other parts of yourself into your characters?
Definitely the book loving, because Cadence and Allegra have to stay inside. They love to read, so they got the bookshelf, the library that we all want, and they're kind of storytellers too. So they're always looking out the window, making stories of the people that they see outside since they can't go outside. So she's got that reader and that little bit of writer in her, and then I think just that that fire and burning for like justice and to gain her own freedom, because like growing up, my sister and I like had a couple like rough patches, and so it was like being able to show people that like they can overcome the things that they went through when they were younger and have that fire, but doesn't mean that they have to like become bad or do the wrong thing. So going about it the right way.
You don't have to let your fire go out, but you don't have to let it burn down the world either.
Ooh, I like that. Is that in your book?
No, I said it should be. It was great. So separate from a diamond, bright and broken, or maybe you can also talk about this for diamonds. What is the first thing you usually know about a character when you're going into like those beginning days of a new project?
Yeah, so I try to come up with their name right away because I feel like I need to know their name to like kind of build on their story. So I feel like that's really important to me. And then just figuring out their like GMC, their goal, motivation, and conflict. So like, in Save the Cat, they say like you want to make sure your main character, like they're the best character to tell the story. So that's usually what I come up with at first, to make sure like there's going to be high stakes, they're the right character to tell the story, like they've got internal and external conflict, and they're named so I can talk about them.
Do you have your plot first usually, or characters first?
It's usually a little bit of both. It's usually like maybe I'll have an idea of someone and something, and so then they both kind of expand at the same time.
That's cool. Wow. Let's jump into your world building a little bit. So Cadence's story kind of circles around this magic that she then later finds out is a curse, actually. How did you figure out the magic system for this world?
Yeah, it was hard because I wanted to make sure that I was unique in the magic system. And I know like witches at the time that I was writing this in November of 2020, which is crazy for NaNoWriMo. Like witches were a big thing, but I wanted to do something like, and fae obviously are huge, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So that's when I was like looking up like synonyms to like witches, and I came up with like mages, and I'm like, okay, they can be like magi. So in a way they're like witches, but they kind of have their own little twist. And because Cadence crying diamonds was like the first thing that I thought of for the story, I was like, well, I can't have mages where like, oh, well, they're just crying something different, So I really had to figure out how each mage was going to have a different power and what it was. So it really gave me a lot of freedom in the magic system, because really the magi can have like any power. So it kind of made it fun for me to play around with poisons and transportation and all of that. So, and Cadence just happens to be crying diamonds over there.
So my next question was going to be, what drew you, inspired you to make that Cadence curse?
Yeah, so it was actually, I always find it interesting, like where people get their snippets of story ideas. And it was one morning, I woke up, I was in bed scrolling through my phone on YouTube, and I follow a whole bunch of like instrumental music, uh, what's it called, channels, so that I can like save them to playlists when I'm writing. And one of the thumbnails was just this girl, and she was crying, but I don't know if there were like feathers or just like it was just blue and beautiful. And I was just like, what if those were crystals? And then just like, or what if those were diamonds? And then it just like came from there. So it's like really her power came to her first. And so then I had to figure out why is she crying diamonds? What's the whole point of this? And literally just build around that concept.
Okay, I love that. I love that that was the spark for this story, because like it's definitely a unique detail. I already would hate crying in public, and the fact that then you couldn't cry because people would know that like you have this curse, like that would just make my life so terrible.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes like I'll come up with like a story idea by like because I am subscribed to like dictionary.com, so they'll give like a word of the day in an email, and literally I've like built story ideas off of just like the word, and I'm like, ooh, that would be a cool book title, or like, what's this word? And then I build on it from there. So it's always just those little things. You just need like a little spark.
The smallest things in real life can be like, oh, that's it. Like, and then you're just stuck over here in imagination land until you have like a book to hold.
Right.
How did you decide on the setting? Like, what about Cadence's life made you decide to set it where it is?
Yeah. So when I was brainstorming like where her magic came from and why she's crying the diamonds, and realizing that I'm like, hey, her parents could be, greedy and keeping her inside. And then that kind of sparked in me Disney's Tangled, which I know that Heirs of Bone and Sea is also inspired by, which I read and loved.
Disney girlies here.
Yeah. So I really like used like Tangled setting as like inspiration. So there's like, and because she's crying diamonds, I'm like, okay, there has to be a way to make it a little more like normative of like why the parents are able to climb the ranks, the royal ranks, and all of this when they have diamonds. So like gems are like currency. So that's what makes it like believable that they have all these diamonds.
No one's like, where the from?
Right. So, she's living in like the higher society where the in the city where the king lives. So then I was like, well, then there could be like a poorer city and like a forest, kind of similar to like Tangled, where Flynn and Rapunzel are going on their journey. Yes, Tangled, yes. And I love Tangled so much. So
He's an underrated.
yes. And then the city of Magi ended up being where the towers are. So that's kind of where I was able to incorporate that. So it was kind of cool to like take bits and pieces of like Tangled and put a twist on it to make it my own.
That's fun that the towers are in the place where she starts to like find freedom instead of the place where she is captive. I love that.
Exactly.
So aside from Tangled, are there any real world inspirations for settings in A Diamond Bright and Broken?
Not really. I used like a whole like map. I forget what little map making thing I made, and I just started to just be like, well, so I made like where the city of Magi are and where she's living, and I'm like, well, she has to go on this journey there to like find answers to her curse. So what would be good? Okay, let's get mountains, let's get like, sand and islands and stuff. So I just like kind of threw in a little bit of everything, just kind of from the top of my head.
So did you go into the story with your map so that you kind of knew where she was going, or you're like, she went here, so now I have to add it to the map?
Yeah, I had my map. So I knew exactly the path that she would take.
That sounds like it would make things a lot easier.
Oh, very much so.
So you mentioned it earlier, you're not a huge fan of developmental edits. So let's talk about what has the editing process for this story kind of look like?
Yeah. So like I said, I wrote A Diamond Bright and Broken in November of 2020, and I usually go through a round of revisions. Well, actually, before that, my alpha reader, Heather's my alpha reader. So she actually gets to read like the very first draft, which is like pretty vulnerable because you get the good, the bad, the ugly. But I feel like that gives a lot of like encouragement and motivation because you know someone's looking forward to even the first draft, and you can kind of start to get some feedback already and kind of sprinkle in like, okay, for the second draft, I want to do this. So after the second draft, then I give it to beta readers and critique partners, and it's gone through quite a few revisions. So I think it went through 5 drafts before I started querying it. And then after my first round of queries last August, and I had only sent out maybe like 10 or 15 queries, and I only got like one full request that turned into a rejection. So I was like, I'm not happy with these numbers. So I revised it like mostly the opening chapters one more time, and then sent it out into the world and to Zara. But the line edits are definitely like my favorite part. So that's what kind of fuels me with the developmental edits, is like getting to that point, because it's hard for me to work, because I feel like I work so hard in the first, 1 or 2 drafts, and then to still make like major changes just feels very overwhelming and daunting to me. So I like more of the nitty gritty, like making it pretty, taking out like the crutch words. So that's definitely my jam. But I will have to go through developmental edits. Zara is working on them, so I haven't started that yet. So I'm really interested to see the process of going through with like, an editor and through my publisher, seeing how that process is.
It's exciting. Like, people did not understand when I was like, oh, look, I got edits back. I have work to do. And they're like, why are you excited to do work? And I'm like, I got edits from an actual editor. Like, it's happening.
Yes. I think it's good. It's realizing that like, hey, they want to make this better. And like, they believe in my story. This book is coming out into the world, and now it's just tweaking it to make it better, which every author has to go through. So it's learning like not to take things personally. It's just making it stronger.
Yeah. Have you had to kill any of your darlings?
It's kind of been the reverse for A Diamond Bright and Broken. Like in my other manuscripts, I've had to like kill some darlings. Is it literally or like scenes or things that I like?
I'm talking about scenes.
Okay, that's what I figured. Just wanted to clarify.
We can talk about character deaths, but we don't want to spoil any of that.
Right. But so it was actually the reverse, where there was something that I did that thought would drive like Cadence's arc, that needed to happen for the story. And then it was through like beta reader and critique partner feedback that and then mostly like me reflecting on it and being like, you know what, I don't think this has to happen. I'm gonna change it. So it was like a reverse of killing my darlings, which I really loved. So, but it was definitely different for me, because a lot of times I'm like, oh, I really like the scene, but it's not really taking the story anywhere. So I was glad that I feel like I was able to keep most things, like from the first draft, like most of the major things was able to stay.
That's always so satisfying. It's like, I spent so much effort on this outline so that I know these scenes all make sense, so I don't have to cut anything out of it. Are you an overwriter or an underwriter? Because I typically tend to underwrite, so then I'm always adding things in.
Yeah, that was me, especially with A Diamond Bright and Broken. For the first draft, it was 55K, and that's so low for a YA fantasy. And usually I'm writing like 70 or 80K. And so I think it ended at like 73K by the 6th draft. So I did beef it up more, but that was also new to me. I'm like, I don't know why there were all these firsts with this draft, but I was just like 55K and it's done. Like, what? So I think that's why it took me so long to get through my edits, because it was not only like through the pandemic and I was having a little bit of a rough patch with my mental health, but then it was also like having to beef up my story and go through my developmental edits, which is the hardest part of the writing process for me. So it was definitely something to slog through.
So that kind of touches on what I was going to ask next. What were your biggest challenges with this book?
Yeah, definitely. Like there was it was more so like the stuff happening in my like real life where I was really, really burnt out from work. I was working in an outpatient clinic as a physical therapist, and you know, even, though I was an outpatient, like through the pandemic, it was really, really tough for me. And I was finding that every day I was getting home and just not having the energy to write or at the time to edit. And then I was like, I want to do this, but I just can't. Like all I can do is sit on the couch and blob and binge these Netflix shows. And I feel, and like I'm someone who like I need to feel and be productive. Because even sometimes relaxing like is stressful for me, which is like horrible. I'm working on it. But so that was just hard. So it was me like making a career switch. I did start working. I took a work from home job for a year, but I was still working at the hospital like on the weekends to kind of keep up my skills. And then in June, they had offered me like a part-time position. So now I'm back in, treating patients, but I feel like it's much more of a better balance. So I think that's just that was the hardest thing for me, was kind of getting through like that depressive writing rut where like I just couldn't do anything for like months. And I know like the process to getting published takes forever. And so that's what was frustrating for me, because it's like, if my book is on submission or I'm waiting to hear back from agents or small presses, that's on them. But like this was on me, and that was something that I could change. So that was really hard.
Because it's like I could change it, but also I need a break.
Yes.
I get that. Totally relate. What was your favorite scene to write? Do you enjoy drafting? We said you kind of don't enjoy the dev edit section, but do you enjoy drafting?
Yes, I enjoy drafting. And I know that's why a lot of pantsers don't want to plot, because they want that discovery writing. They don't want to know what's going to happen. It's going to feel boring to them. But for me, I'm like, well, now I have this outline. I know where things are going, but I don't know all the details. How am I going to describe this? Like, I know she's here, but what does it look like? I know there's going to be this interaction, but what's the exact dialogue? So it still feels new to me. So I love the drafting and outlining. I mean, it's like just developmental edits can go, but everything else is fine. But my favorite scene, it will always be the summer solstice ball. Because I'm like, I'm getting a ballroom scene in here, and that's the first time that Cadence and Raven meet, and the first time like Cadence gets to go out and possibly have her power exposed. So it was just so fun, because I got to have like playful banter and just like that's the inciting incident. So it's that's always fun, because it kind of kickstart things.
Ballroom scenes are the best. I love ballroom scenes. I love reading them. I love writing them. And if you guys in the audience like ballroom scenes, I think like at least half of the Inimitable books so far have some kind of a ballroom scene.
Yes, because Heirs of Bone and Sea, which I need all the other arcs, because I only had Heirs of Bone and Sea, so I could read yours. But I was reading it, and I was like, there's a ballroom scene. This is giving me life.
Mine has a ballroom scene.
Wonderful.
I'm a huge fan of ballroom scenes. What was the first scene that came to mind at the beginning? Like, did you have a scene that you just knew was going to come in the book, or was it more like just small glimpses of things?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to think of I think like the parts that were similar to Tangled was what I thought of first. So it was kind of like, well, of course she has to be somewhere. And then I'm like, well, she's inside the mansion at home with her family. And okay, she has to leave. And so I think it was kind of just those more of like turning points. But I can't think of anything like specifically.
Do you have any scenes in your outline that you were dreading having to write?
Well, the one scene that I took out, which is good, because it was just like it was a very emotional scene, and like, it was bringing tears. So thankfully I got to retract those tears. But I think writing, like a lot of my books have to deal with like emotionally and like verbally abusive parents, because I had a verbally and emotionally abusive stepdad. So I always wanted to like represent that in my manuscripts, or at least some of them, because it's just as important, it's just as painful as physical abuse to me. And so like I never read books with that. So I felt like that was important to put in, but then it's also kind of hard to like put my character through that, because it's like not like I'm like reliving it, but like it's it's like no one should have to go through that. So
Yeah,
but I know it's also an important message to tell.
Punch Caden's parents.
Yes. Yeah, just like I hate you so
much. Do you have any favorite lines?
Yeah, so my first line, the whole premise of Cadence crying diamonds, I kept a secret while I was working, because I was like, this is like the premise of like my whole story. I don't want someone to take this. So it was known as Project Diamond. The original title was Diamond Tears. But so I never even got to share like my first line, because it literally gave it away, which it has been tweaked a little bit. But the first line is, at least right now, I don't know if it's going to be changed, but if my tears hadn't paid for this mansion, maybe I wouldn't feel so bitter about living in it.
Which is a great first line.
Yeah. So I really loved that first line. And then, of course, the end of the book blurb, which is also it was the end of the first chapter in like original versions, but now it's like the end of chapter 2, where mother and father better be careful. If they keep doing whatever they want, sooner or later I'm going to break. After all, with enough force, even diamonds can shatter.
Which is in your synopsis.
Right, yeah. So I had used that in my query, and Zara pulled that for the synopsis. So I loved that. And then just my favorite, like, because it was just like funny, and it was one that like came to me and just like stayed throughout all of the versions, was in the ballroom scene. Let me find it here. It's oh yeah. So where is it? Oh, so she's in the ballroom. There's like food and people are dancing. I scan the room and my attention zeroes in on a dashingly handsome young man with flowing blonde hair and piercing green eyes visible beneath his golden mask, standing near the buttered buns. Dang, I knew I should have gone by the food. Those carbs look delicious.
Carbs are more important.
Yay! Oh, thank you, Zara. Woo!
How did you... So you pick your character names early. How did you decide on Credence and Allegra?
Yeah, so I've got like a document with just like character names that I can pull from, because I'm like, oh, this would be great for like a villain, or this would be good as like a sidekick, or like the character's pet. So I've like kind of stored this like bank of names. And so I think I was just going through and I was like, Cadence, that would be cool. So it not like she has anything to do with music or anything like that. But I definitely like finding unique names that like not everyone has. And then it's funny, Allegra, I don't think that name was on the list, but somehow it came to me. And one of Heather's my twin sister's first story she wrote, the older sister's name was Allegra. So then I was like, oh wait, Heather, can I take your character's name? Because like it just came to me, and she's Al, so I don't know, like, is that okay? And she's like, yes. So sometimes it comes to me, but I have that bank as needed.
I've started doing that because I work at Starbucks part-time. So I'm like, if any customer has a cool name, it goes in the list and it's probably going to end up in a book. So
yes. And that's why like I like still treating patients, because I'll literally like write down like people's names or like a funny line that they've said or just something. And I'm just like, oh, that needs to go in a book. It's like, don't worry, I'm not writing down any important information about you. It's for my book.
I'm just going to quote you. It's fine.
Carboholics unite.
Okay. So this is the part of the interview where we would normally do a reading, but Holly is still editing her book, so I'm not going to be able to share any of it with you guys today. You'll have to wait and look for something a little later on. But we are going to talk about her pre-orders. A Diamond Bright and Broken is now available for pre-order wherever books are sold, which is so exciting. And Holly has a really cool pre-order incentive that she can talk about now.
Yes, so definitely I'm all about the character art. So you guys will get character art of Cadence, Raven, and Allegra. And Allegra has a neuromuscular disorder, so sometimes she uses crutches, but for longer distances or when she's tired, she uses a wheelchair. So the art is going to be of her in the wheelchair, which I think is awesome, and I'm super excited to see that represented. So you get to have the three girls repping it.
That's awesome. And I love that you're going to include the disability rep in the character art too. So it cannot be denied. Like, it's there. She's there. She's part of the story. She's important. Even with her illness, even with everything that she goes through, she's still a major part of the story.
Yes, definitely. It definitely wouldn't be the same story without her.
Can you tell us who's doing the artwork?
So I messaged 2 different people. Actually, someone got back to me. So I don't know if we're going to be going with this person, so I can't say yet. But either hopefully one of them will work out because it's beautiful, and hopefully I can share who it is soon.
I look forward to that. Do you have anything else you want to say? Any outros?
Oh, yay! We'll probably go with that artist. Okay. Yes, it's if it is her, it is Laura Hollingsworth. So you can look her up on Instagram. But I'm just so grateful for everyone's support, and it's like a dream come true. And I keep like wanting to share about how my ranking on Amazon keeps going down, but then the next day I look at it and it's down and down. So I'm almost in the hundreds rankings for all of the subcategories: young adult fantasy, young adult action adventure, and then I think young adult swords and something. So please, if you're interested in this book, please pre-order it for a friend. Tell your friends about it if they're interested in Tangled retellings, if they're interested in disability and LGBTQ rep. And yeah, just thank you.
Thank you, everyone who came to join us to celebrate this stunning cover reveal. And Holly, I'm so glad you get to be part of Inimitable Books with us.
Yay, thank you. I'm so proud to be an Inimitable author.
And we will see you next time.
Bye.